Welcome to the Smokin Word. Welcome to the Smokin Word.
What's up, everybody? The Smokin Word podcast is finally back. We took a little bit of a break, so we had to come back with a banger. Listen, let's welcome Gogol Bordello boys to the motherfucking Smokin Word podcast.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thanks, Jorge.
Eugene, Pedro, right? Listen. So let me just start like this. First of all, this is the first podcast. I haven't done one in a while. I got the other show I'm doing, The Hard Corner, that we, basically like a news channel from the underground.
Right.
And so, okay, we doing Riot Fest, right? So we're excited because first of all, we don't think these people don't want to see Madball, right? Oh, you're gonna do Riot Fest. Okay. Wow, that's cool. We're gonna do some festivals in America. We always done them in Europe. All right, whatever. So we're there, cool. All right, Misfits, this, that, all right, all that good. So, and then I say, all right, they say Gogol Bordello. I'm like, so I'm going to tell you I want to start this just off the top with this. So, where I'm at mentally. So, we're downtown, Lower East Side. So forever I heard you, for so long I heard the name. So I knew, these are downtown band, but I didn't know much. I know connected to hardcore, the downtown scene, hardcore people, punk, but I didn't know much. I didn't ask questions. I know. All right. So I always heard the name. Around blah. And then I started seeing you pop up with Jimmy Gestapo and Drew Stone a little bit more on the show. I know I didn't watch the show, but like his when you at the park and popping up. Okay, so I'm like, yeah, and then people going crazy. Then everybody around me, like, oh yeah, go Bordello. And I'm like, it's when you like them. I'm like, I didn't even know all my people were like into the band. All right, I'm starting to hear it pop, like close people around me. So I'm one day in the house too, and they're like, whatever. And then we go there. So that day on stage, I'm like, oh, these guys are gonna play. I said, oh shit, let me go check it out. So I see everybody again. I say, remember this. I know nothing about you guys. I just know this. A lot of my close people, they love you guys, and they go, oh, greatest band. Oh, you gotta see it. Oh, this and that. Oh, this and that. My boy Gator Food, who's the producer, also of the show and helps me out with everything. When we're on stage, I go, okay, I want to check these guys out. And he's like, oh, yeah, the last time I seen them, Lollapalooza, whatever. And I'm like, how the fuck you know them? I feel like I'm the last guy to the party, right? Anyway, I said, all right, let me check it out. I'm like, holy shit, I'm watching. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. And I'm watching, I'm like, holy shit, damn, these motherfuckers could play. Holy shit, yo, this shit is fucking. Long story short, I became an instant fan.
Oh man,
and this is what and seriously, my boy Gatorfoot would tell you. I wasn't just like, I was like, nah. I go, yo, I stood there because one, I normally don't listen to that style. Like it's, in general, I'm like, I'm really boring. Like I'll listen to old, the Animals or Michael Jackson or maybe Hector Lavoe right now, a little something like that. A little bit simple, some very simple. So I'm watching and I'm like, yo, this is crazy. And I go, damn, I get it. That's what I said in my head. I said, I get it. And I saw the percussion section. So I said, okay, hold on 1 second. First of all, I see the pirates up front, but I see this in the back, some color. And I said, that's why they got that flavor and sabor in the background. So, all right, that took a long breath, but really, I was blown away by everything. Because I really am a fanatic of music. And I watch, some bands are just attitude. Some bands are great players, no attitude. Some bands have it both or either or. You guys had the playing, the vibe, the attitude. I was sold. All jokes aside, I was like, again, this ain't normally my bag. I was like, fuck, this is. I even posted it that night. I think this is my new favorite live band. That's it.
Oh, man. Thank you so much, man. Seriously.
But let me just start with this.
Okay.
How the fuck Ukraine, Ecuador. Where did this happen? I know America, only in America.
There's a long exchange program going on there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, you guys. So how did that happen first? Where did you two guys meet?
That's actually very logical. That the kinship of the spirits, both cultures very expressive, and once you get into New York City, we see each other a mile away.
Yeah. Oh, so in the bar, you were getting drunk, and then you met.
Partially.
Where was that first time?
The first time that we actually spoke in the Lux in Brooklyn.
Oh, in Brooklyn.
Manu Chao show.
That's right. In Manu Chao was the first encounter.
Yeah.
Where we actually fully connected.
Did you know the band before? Did you know the band before when you were talking with him?
I saw them perform the band, and then we had, or actually Eugene was DJing for the after party after the show, and that's when we crossed paths.
Remember Manu Chao is a singer of Mano Negra. He came over. It was like 2000 or 2001.
No,
Early 2000.
Right. A summer stage was the show, and he went to see Manu Chao, but we were opening for Manu Chao. So that was a good hang, man. That was like New York at its best.
Yeah.
That was like free show, fucking thousands of people, rebel rock all day.
Yeah.
And then naturally, then Manu and the band came to our party. It's a Bulgarian bar on Broadway and Canal, and it was, like till 6 a.m. kind of the usual,
Yeah.
And then Pedro was like in the mix, but it was a very kind of insane night. So I was DJing in another place somewhere in Williamsburg another night, and he came over and he was just like, I remember this right now. He like came up to me on the stage and he was like, "Man, I gotta give you all this music."
Yeah.
It was just like, yo.
Yeah. He felt that
like
shit.
Clear channel, like just fountain going.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. Yeah, like here's my address. So then I came over. I was living on Avenue A in 3rd Street. Came over with all these tapes and
a whole suitcase of CDs,
Take
everything.
So Eugene told me you're Ecuador. Where in Ecuador?
I was born and raised in Quito.
Oh, Quito.
Yes.
Mabo played Quito once. My father is from Guayaquil. So somos los monos. I know all about it. Somos los monos, pero con el rabo en el frente, like they say.
El rey del ceviche, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And my father is the king of ceviche, by the way. He really is. My father, he can't do nothing. Ceviche, he can just play soccer, he could curse, and he makes the best ceviche. But that's good. And it's funny because so it's funny you talking about how you met at the bar and whatever. So I always heard the name because we were always growing up downtown. I couldn't connect the dots. So I'm talking with my drummer Mikey, and he's like, yeah, so back in the day, I remember, we used to go, there was the spot I went to downtown. So there's this building. You open the door, it don't look like nothing. You open the door, it looks like there's nothing in this building. And then when you open this door, there's another world. And then there's in this alternative world, there was this guy DJing. Eugene, he was talking about you. And I was like, and he was like, yo, and he goes, it was just this, it was bumping. And I used to kind of hear about certain things, parties or whatever, but he put it together for me again. He was like, yeah, and that's the come up. Cause I was like, wait a minute, how the fuck I missed out? I don't know everything, but he knows too many people. You guys know too many people of the same world that I didn't cross paths. So I'm asking questions, about you guys, like all that. And then, long story short, I saw that you came up doing the DJ stuff, and working that. And then now, okay, let's start with this. So you're doing the DJ stuff, and obviously you work music, and Pedro, you were doing music already. Now, I know a little bit. Eugene, we'll tap it more. Eugene, I know you were doing punk and all types of stuff.
Yeah,
early on.
Since I was 13, back in Ukraine,
Yeah, and Pedro, what were you doing first? What were you into first?
For me, the escape was a bit different. When I was in Quito, before coming over, it was very, very much trash and death and metal. That was the Quito scenery, you know.
That's why I ask. It's weird, and you don't play like a metal drummer. That's why. Yeah.
So when I moved from that scene to here, it was a little twisted because I was in the idea that here I was gonna find the mecca for hardcore music and loud, distortion guitars. It was the kingdom for this. Yeah. And the first flick of the TV was Nirvana, Pearl Jam, this kind of vibe. So I was very pulled away from that the whole thing, like
America's fucked up in some ways like that.
I was not hearing, a lot of screamings and all these
power
madness
shit,
coming out of the lyrics, and that's when I started finding my own paths. And funny enough, during high school times, there was a little matinee show, or like a little place near my high school. It was called The Cave. My parents moved to the States and we started living in New Jersey. So, New Jersey has some scene, but in the mid 90s, it was mostly, this kind of like alternative rock or
for sure,
rap core, whatever.
Right.
Right?
For sure.
So for me, it was like this little room was my passion. That's when I saw Casualties, Choking Victim Once, and that's my immediate response to, okay, this is the kind of music that I'm into, because this is more like the music I was listening back then.
Yeah, it had the balls.
Now we ended up on the same label with the Casualties.
That's right.
Oh, crazy. There you go. And Eugene, see, this is weird because obviously I'm Ecuadorian, I know, but I know a lot about how the European youth came up. Not everything, but I grew up in Europe, basically also. I've been going there for 30 years almost, with the band.
Touring,
touring and stuff. So I know, I'm just saying I'm more intact than with the average, let's say a European heavy music kid than the average South American kid, which I know a lot, but I grew up, just friends in Europe. What came in? How did you start? I mean, it's a little again, metal is big. That's why I figured South America metal's powerful, and then there's punk rock, and it's that, and then everything else in the middle. And I know metal is huge in Europe, and especially in your area. So I'm assuming metal was the entrance, right?
Metal, you nailed it. Metal is the entrance, but by when you're 13, you're already like, I mean, listen, I'm all for Ronnie James Dio, but like, songs about like fucking dragons in space is like not what's up, like when you're 14, like, and you're living in a neighborhood, like trying to like survive the dudes in the next block,
no like, dragons, just drug dealers.
Fucking songs, So you start getting into different kind of music, into punk and hardcore, and we had a few bands from Poland come over. This band called Deserter, who was like a real fucking punk hardcore band that Joey Shithead from DOA. He produced their second album. He heard him. And he was like, what the fuck? Like, I gotta get this out. So I know those dudes from back then, like the singer would come out and in a fucking shirt from a psychiatric ward, and show would last like fucking 5 minutes, like all these Soviet assholes would run out and
crazy.
Show. It was like that. So, but so I was already exiting out of metal, and of course all the kids who were, I had like a good hang. There was a kind of like a few kids who were older than me, who really knew what's up in that music.
Yeah.
And they were, they would give me all those punk and disorderly compilations, all that Oi bands, Angelic Upstarts, One Way System, like Exploited. That was like my it had energy. Yeah. And so I was listening to that, and then, and then some of them started becoming like, they were like, hey, we got to like shave all this stuff off. We're like, get butter
skin part.
And let's go. It was like a next level, and
of course.
I remember clearly how I sensed this one dude, Baton, he gave me, of course. Baton gave me a tape of MOD.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to it, and he was also like kind of out of metal, but he was like, this is like hardcore. And I was like, sounds like metal. He's like, Yeah, but it's not metal. It's like
Yeah.
this other thing.
Yeah, I love explaining it. So
Yeah.
it's some
And
other shit.
I listened to it and I was like, okay, I actually get it. It's punk. It's like punk metal. It's more pure impact.
Yeah.
And I just kind of was like in the back of my mind, and all those dudes like became skins and like went on their own trip, and then basically I came to the States like I was like 16, and my family immigrated, and I landed right here when like I had all that like punk rock background, but I landed right here when like shit was man.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah, and that in the Manhattan period with everything, like from the bar, with both you guys, the bar scene connected with the music scene, with the alternative scene, with the underground heavy scene, with the hip hop, all that was connected. We used to go from a hardcore show to a hip hop show, to a trance lounge, to the after hours, Save the Robots, and you know the deal.
Yes.
End up in 2 days later somewhere in some weird cave of Manitoba's basement or some shit.
Yeah, so I mean, the time was so fertile that like becoming a fan of Nirvana was like not an option. Like
yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Like
I know exactly what you mean.
I already like saw like like Fugazi and Shelter, and like.
Yeah, for sure. So let me ask you. Now let's start with this. The name, because the name is great. I don't know what it means, but it feels right. It feels like what you guys are, one, and it feels like I feel like downtown Manhattan, the gritty down. I feel that shit when I hear it. I go, oh, that's like one of the bands that I knew from downtown. Like, oh, they're playing the bar. Oh, we'll go after the show. They're playing here.
Right.
You know what you guys, where you guys come from, where we all come from, and it feels like that. But I'm like, what does it mean? Like, oh, and where did it come from? And it matches, you motherfuckers. I don't know. It just
it matches. It's like you're digging deep into the vortex of creation of the name. I'll tell you why. Because I was living on Ridge Street, which is like Houston, right below the sea.
Yeah.
And we had this like we had this art gallery that was converted into. People from the neighborhood kind of converted art gallery into kind of punk rock after hour type of place, and it was amazing. And the band was just coming together. I mean, I was playing by myself, like with acoustic guitar in Ukrainian bars on Lower East Side first. There was a duet, and trio was rapidly growing, but like 97, 98, 99, this place appeared, and I was DJing in there and kind of running the place because I was living right above it. That's kind of was a neighborhood kind of effort, and I was like, when a name need to reflect this situation. Here we are. It's like 4 a.m, and we're about to go on stage.
Exactly.
So like. But like I wanted to signify that it's like the root is back in Ukraine. So Gogol is a famous Ukrainian writer.
Okay, I didn't know that, but good. I'm glad.
Well, Nikolai Gogol is like a
I got my GED. I got thrown out of high school, so you got to work with me.
Well, yeah. So it's important was for me because he was from Ukraine, and kind of Russians always said that he was Russian, and I was like, no, bring it all back home, baby.
Gotcha.
I got you. So it was like, and part of the mission. And then Bordello, like the word Bordello, like where I come from, it kind of stands for like kind of chaos, disorder, havoc, some kind of
wildness, just
mayhem.
Craziness.
Yeah. So I was just like kind of like that sounds about right.
Yeah. Not because it matches. Like I said, oh, this is fucking perfect. Like, and from now, let me ask you. So on purpose, I didn't go, and I told you even when we talked earlier, I said I don't even want to talk even about what you, Pedro. I said I don't want to talk. I want to talk when I see you guys. I don't want to go look at old interviews. I don't want to do none of that shit. That's why I got you guys. I asked you guys. Like if I met you, this is what I'll ask you. What I'm asking you about, because this is what I'm more curious about. I'm like, what I want to know this. So I don't know. I know what you guys sound when I saw you. What? All right, now and early on, I do know that you did a lot of this stuff by yourself, correct, Eugene? You started kind of writing the songs by yourself. So I'm assuming you being by yourself, it was obviously more, like the folkish style because you're with the guitar and maybe like that. When you started adding the band element, were you planning to go like you ended up because you got like the percussion section and?
Yeah, you know what? It was a little bit backwards from this theory because that it was already kind of like second chapter of like my music doing. Because
Gotcha.
I started out by playing punk rock in Ukraine and play electric guitar. And first my first band actually here in the States was with the dudes from Vermont. It was a thrash crossover band like Epitaph.
Gotcha.
Epitaph. It was actually it was like we were listening to Leeway.
Yeah.
And like like Rest in Pieces. That was like
the real shit, like, which I want to say, you're a real hardcore fanatic. Like there's people, everybody knows the Bad Brains, the Ramones, of course. Yeah, he sent me a tape yesterday, a picture, and it's Rest in Pieces. And I was like, okay, he knows because the average motherfucker does not know that. Period. You know what I mean?
It's just these kids that I was hanging out with in Vermont. They fucking knew what's up, like on the highest level. Like, these guys were like sages of punk and hardcore.
Yeah.
They had a New York connection, and their vector, like their aesthetic, was just like really set on this. So and you know how it is in like punk rock hardcore scene. It's very all inclusive. Like, I was like from fucking refugee house. I met them on the street. Next thing I knew, I was at the fucking Fugazi show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they just gave me like stacks of records, and then they walked me through it. I would come over there and just spend the whole day with them, a whole night, and I was absorbing information like that very quickly. But the bands that like I loved, like, this shit cannot not blow your mind. Like if you're like, Chromax, Bad Brains, like it doesn't matter how strong of a stomach you have and how well prepared you are. Like once you hear the shit, you donezo, So, but on the top of that, I remember like, AF, of course, but when I was like, for some reason, like Rest in Pieces was like my to-go-to band. And I had a couple like dudes that like Matty Mad Dog and, a couple other dudes from who were like really on it. And we kind of had like this club of like Rest in Pieces club,
Yeah.
So I remember actually I went to see Sick of It All and Agnostic Front a couple of years ago. And I was talking to Craig backstage, and I was like, and I somehow brought up like, yeah, man, I used to listen to Sick of It All, and like, like from like, such a way back in the day, and there was this band, Rest in Pieces, and he was just looking at me like, yeah, I was Rest in Pieces. I was like, what? Like, because you carry the tape in a pocket all your life, but it doesn't have all the credits.
I know.
You know what I mean? I was
totally.
Like, well, of course, and then I remember that one of the guys from Rest in Pieces went on to like, I read somewhere that one of the guys on Rest in Pieces went on to play with Helmet.
Rob.
So I went to see Helmet for a show. Like there was like 20 people there, what I mean? So
again, downtown, that's what I loved. You had guys like you, guys like the Helmet. Not everything was a hardcore punk, but it all came. We all had the same vibe. You know what I mean? That punk hardcore vibe.
Definitely.
It's an attitude. I tell people, forget the sound. It's a fucking attitude, because you could sound like anything. You know what I mean? Anybody, parrots repeat anything, but when you can feel this shit.
Seriously, just like that. What blew me away is that like punk was a rapidly evolving music, but hardcore was like jumping in these quantum leaps like every fucking 2 weeks. Like, I remember I was walking down a street in Burlington, these guys that I met at the hardcore show, they were like just pulling up on the car, and they're like, hey, Eugene, like I didn't even speak fucking English then yet, they're like, hey man, you want to go see another hardcore show with us? And I was like, yeah. So like jump in the car with them. And I thought we were going to like 242 Main or fucking Club Toast or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Fucking 5 hours later, we're like in Anthrax in Connecticut.
That's a little bit, but you got the classic.
I call my fucking parents, let them know. I'm back 2 days later,
Pedro, Eugene's almost like Forrest Gump. He ended up in some classic places, like not even knowing, like the Anthrax and whatever. So, but okay, let me ask you this, Pedro. When all right, you met Eugene, you knew the band. How formed was the band? Because now, obviously, I'm assuming you have, the band, and then when you could do bigger stuff, you could always expand on extras. I'm assuming, right, as far as, let's say, dancers or whatever, the other show part of the show, or is every time you guys travel with the show I see you with, that I saw you guys with?
No, the band. When I met the band was already formed and running. Like it was
what we saw,
sorted
what we saw already,
I
right?
came as an extra, extra curriculum event happening. Yeah, because when I went to give Eugene my music, within those days, Eugene was also working on demos and stuff like this. Always working on
doing music, yeah.
And he showed me this 60 Revolution song, right? And he said, "Yo, Pedro, why don't you do something on it?" And I was actually, within those days, I was pretty much involved with Todos Tus Muertos, this band from Argentina that was doing punk and like a little bit of reggae, all mixed up,
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, that sounds great. Let me do something with it. And that's how I pretty much became a little bit of participant, if you may call it, into the project, right? But then, later on in the day, Eugene called me and said, yo, let's record this song. Come to Chicago. That's I was so in shock, but when I came already, the band was already running. So for me, it was just the first tour was like an immediate let me call my job and quit so I can keep going with this.
Gotcha.
I love it, and I was just part of one song at that moment.
Yes,
and I eventually grew up within the band. Yeah,
gotcha.
I mean, I don't know if Brother Hootsie had already in mind that. Yeah, let's mash it up. But,
yeah.
From earlier in the day, since we already knew each other, we kind of our main point of connection was all this punk rock music that we knew from different angles and from the scene, So that's what pretty much came into the game.
It's cool that it happened organically like that. You liked what he did. Hey, get on this song, and the next thing you know, he's always you never leaves.
Exactly. I was there to just bring the vibe. I mean, I was like, if you want to play clarinet, that's fucking fine.
Yeah, let's go. Okay, now let me ask you this, Eugene, again. So I didn't go back. I'm learning everything new again because I'm fascinated. I love what I saw, period. So you started from by yourself. Now the next stage of the band, is it what I saw again? Because I'm fascinated how this crazy Ukrainian punk metal kid ends up basically being what do you call it? A conductor of a fucking punk rock circus of Soleil. Because that's what I said. I said that shit is like Circus du Soleil shit with fucking guitars.
Right. Well, fuck. I mean, it's a snowball. So kind of to answer you more precisely, nobody has ever seen Gogol Bordello show twice. Same way.
I got you.
It was never the same because, there is a core of the band. And
that's amazing.
Some people some people come and go because they bring the vibe, It's a happening. It's a fucking artistic thing. It's living. There is a core of the band. We have core members that's been around since since 99. And it's like, and in a way, that's kind of how it should be. Like, you know what I mean?
Listen, I just got goose pimples because I said, what a great position as a musician to be able from jump to understand, say, look, yeah, we got a core thing, but we could be whatever we want tomorrow, today. It's this, and it's always, we like this, so we could add this, we could add that. A band like us, early on, all musicians, we think we got to stay in this one box.
Right.
You know, to be that what you just said right there, I literally got goosebumps because I was like, that's an amazing thing. And one of the most organic ways to make music, because you were like, yeah, you never seen it twice. You know why? Because yeah, I might add this section to it and it might be right for this. And it might be right. Just to be able to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's brave, one. Two, to be creative and to see that big picture. I'm fascinated by that shit. To see the big picture of shit like that. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, there's a risk in taking that because, you know, some stuff is, you know, there's a lot of kind of smashing atoms and see what happens, you know, but taking that risk, you know, I think that part of the longevity of our band, at least, is that because it's like every tour there kind of, it's like a new Rubik's Cube. You know,
Yeah.
Like maybe by the end of the tour, we're almost putting the fucking cube together. It's like, yeah.
I know, because I'm fascinated even by that. Like I was looking, I go, look at nobody bumps into nobody. I said, and even if you do, you make it look good. But I'm watching everything. I'm watching the playing. I'm watching who's playing, how they're playing, if they're really playing, how they're playing. You know, if all sections are really, you know, there's bands that sometimes have a section on stage. They ain't really doing shit, but they want, you know. So I'm just looking at everything. I'm a musician. I'm looking at the vibe. I'm looking at, damn, these motherfuckers are tight. How could they do all that? Keep it boom, boom, boom.
No, we busy, bro.
That's what I mean. It's like
we know you're busy, you know.
Yeah, and I'm fascinated how, even if you think it's not organized, how organized it's organized mayhem.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, this background of like going to punk and hardcore shows early on when you were a kid, you know the atmosphere, you know, all that stuff that people were, all this stupid shit that people say, like, oh, the scene is violent, you know, you know, is fucking tiring to hear because, like, when you're inside of it, you know exactly what's up, and like that it's a scene of fucking charismatic characters with full of fucking individual style and spades, and that's what's up in that scene. So you know, kind of that vibe where everybody's like expressing themselves and like in the audience and on stage and hopping and fucking nobody's asking nobody to do, it's already on, you know. That's kind of the vibe. I mean, we all know this, and we kind of came from there. So you go and get on stage and you continue it there, and you know, perhaps over playing so many gigs. I mean, I don't know, we played like probably like 2,000 gigs at this point, but maybe more. But you know, it's becomes more like you have like awareness of all that stuff. It's coming from that you just, you know, it's cathartic, chaotic, but it's all gonna fucking work out, you know?
Yeah, for sure, because I get it. Like, I got that ninja sense, but very light because Freddie's crazy. So I learned how to feel him without looking, dodge. I know chords when not even looking. You know, I know that. But you got a football team on stage.
No, we read intentions, no, totally. No, we read intentions of each other.
Yeah.
Plus, we also feed in the show. We also feed from each other's lines. Like, there's moments where Brother Hoots is improvising, so we need to add to that improvisation to make the pop, you know.
Yeah.
And it has come within the time of also doing it. Often,
you start,
you know?
The more you do it, the more you feel it. Because
Totally,
that's what I was curious on the organization, because I'm like, we're all gorillas. You know what I mean? So I'm like, wow, I know gorillas can make beautiful things, but I'm always fascinated. And I saw that and I was like, now let me ask you this. What's so how long, Pedro, you in the band? Since what?
Since 2000 officially meaning since the moment I recorded 2005, kind of.
So, okay.
But we know each other from way before that, and we
2001.
Yeah, we did our thing before
he
that.
He didn't know he was in the band. He was guesting with the band. I mean, he's kind of withholding some info because I was like, hey, you know, give me one fucking reason so you can be in the band, like, because he was, you know, he plays bass too. But Carl Alvarez from Descendants was in a bass with us at the time, you know.
Wow.
and so I was like, can you rap? And he was like, I was like, can you sing? He's like, definitely not. I was like, can you rap? He's like, nah. I was like, fucking rap anyway. You know what I mean? But then we found ways, because it's really like, talking about that whole like exchange program of Eastern Europe meets South America in New York City. It goes beyond this because Pedro here. I'm gonna share a little bit of exciting private information. He married a Ukrainian girl who was born and raised on my street back in Kiev.
Totally.
Like,
Yeah.
I didn't fucking make that up. You know what I mean? Like that would be like some shit that I would like to make up, but it's a true story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is a borough of like Kiev. That's it's called Abalon. So I grew up in like a fucking lost building in a city. Like after that, it's just a fucking prairies.
Got you.
And then and Chernobyl, and it's industrial, like all fucking built, no trees, sand, pavement. So close to some parts of Bronx,
Yeah.
That kind of vibe.
You know what's crazy? What I noticed from traveling Europe many years, Pedro, you got to go to Europe, obviously.
Yeah.
And so you probably you could probably also agree with me. For some reason, Eastern Europe in general has that, right? They have.
Totally.
I said these are Latin people with hair on their body.
Totally.
Like, these are hairy, white, South Americans. Straight up. I go, in America, they paint the pictures of certain things, they definitely, stern face, beautiful women, stern face all over the area. But I get it. It's, it's your terrain where you come. But when you go through that, those were the people. When I would go there, it didn't matter if it was Poland, all those areas. It's, come with us. Come eat.
Totally.
Let's go eat. It's that love.
Don't
get me wrong. Germany, I got a lot of love, but it's different. That warm, like what we're used to as being Latin Americans.
The touching, the touching. When people talk to you, they touch you.
That's what it is.
Hi, they hug. Like there's no other. Yeah, totally. Eastern Europe is definitely. The similarities with South America is that the people are the same.
Crazy, same thing.
Like
I would go like if it's whatever in the movies you hear, Bulgaria, the bad guys in the 007 movie. Yeah, I go to Bulgaria. I hug everybody. They hug me. It's like, and we don't know. We have a stereotype, but then I found though a lot of those people. That's why I'm not surprised you guys get each other. I'm not surprised by it.
Actually, if you ask your friends who were like going to that parties before that I was throwing, they'll probably tell you like 50% of people there, or maybe 90%. So they were all from Colombia. And,
of course.
Like they're Mexico, Argentina.
Of course.
Listen, I just remember this. There's a Ukrainian dance company here in New York City called Sizokryly, the silver-winged eagle, and their leading star guy is Puerto Rican.
Crazy! Wow, there you go. These Puerto Ricans get everywhere, right?
I met him in 1999 or 2000, and he became he started as a dancer, but he loved it. He's a Puerto Rican guy from Bronx.
Wow, go figure.
Yeah, he's an excellent dancer. He dances for Harlem Dance Company now.
Yeah,
but he's still
that's the real shit.
Yeah. That's like
that's top shit.
But he's still teaching. He's now the teacher in that Ukrainian dance company. And I remember meeting him and they're like, I can see that because it's so expressive and athletic. And it's got so much gusto that why wouldn't Puerto Rican guy from Bronx get down with Ukrainian funk so heavy? Like I see that.
Yeah. It's crazy how that happens, but again, traveling. I basically grew up. We've been going to there since 93, 94, almost 30 years.
Wow.
Like I literally spent more time there. I grew up with people. I always say that I grew up in Kreuzberg, Germany. I grew up. I hang out with them more than some of my friends, like that I do that grew up in my own neighborhoods, and it's crazy how the mashup is. Now, let me ask you this, because you guys, okay, besides, I know coming from a punk, metal, or whatever, you guys got to do some really cool shit, you know, like crossover, you know, and as far as show wise, and even people that like your band from all walks of life. Who are some of the coolest people that that probably were into you guys, that forget the hardcore people, like any other types of music, like known famous people were like, wow, they saw you guys play a festival and were blown away? Any, like, you know what I mean? Because they gotta be, for sure.
Right.
Or anybody interesting, you know what I mean? Any,
There's
because you
several,
guys,
like Joe Biafra, for example. When
Well, I mean,
we cross paths with him, it's cool.
yeah, I mean, look, it's like this. You know, we cross paths with many people, but people we keep in touch is still gonna be from our world. You know,
of course.
yeah. So I mean, some great jazz musicians, you know, like that really always stands out, because just people are just like, you know, they have a whole different hang and it's a different mentality. So, you know, like David Amram, like people who like played with Charlie Parker, you know.
Okay,
like,
all right, yeah, all right. That's what I'm saying. You know, that's people that we would, you know, that even, well, Madball's straight caveman music, but we once in a blue got to do some cool things. That's why I asked with you guys that your sound is so broad that I know at a festival, you know, you could get from a rockabilly, a punk, you know, a lot of different.
I gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Well, first of all, I do have to say that Madball is extremely funky.
Yes,
like, that's just like fucking.
I take pride in that.
It's something that like is irreplicable. Like it's on funky on a level that's like fucking only maybe you need to have a trained ear to understand the funkiness of that, but it's just like fucking
Thank you.
You know, it's unreplicable in that sense. So to me, it's very musical, and you know, the hooks that appear there, like, you know, black and blue, like that's a fucking life. It's a lifetime of a hook, you know. It's just like what I love about hardcore music is like it doesn't like fucking dwell and like, yo, we got a hook. It's like, yeah, we got a hook and fucking we move on, you know.
No, for sure, I get you. I know, but for us it was crazy because we were lucky that since going to Europe and doing festivals in the early 90s, we got to do a lot of cool festivals where back then we were like the only hardcore band on. So, you know, it was a big deal in general. You know, it was a little bit more like early Full Force, early Grass Pop festivals, early Walled Rocks, all these big, you know, early versions of them. And it's cool, and it's just cool to freaking the whole festival thing. Let me ask you this: you did Lollapalooza?
Yeah, we did Lollapalooza several times. Yeah,
because that was the thing why a lot of people were like, no, that they were the ones killing everybody on Lollapalooza. Now, what was that's what I'm saying. So, okay, on for instance, okay, so I was saying in the festival thing. This is an example. We played a festival one time, and it was us, Korn, and Los Lobos.
Right.
And listen. The highlight for our band, me and Freddie, was Los Lobos. First of all, they watched our whole set. They were going crazy. They were going insane after the show. Check this out. After the show, they were like, they grabbed us. They were like, yo. You know, you could tell when people are genuine about good show, or they were like, yo, you could tell they were excited about the band. They were all excited. And I'm like, yo, they sing the Bomba. That's my shit, like that. The movie, everything, right? Check this out. Long story short, they ended up playing New York City a couple of months later. Stigma was there. They had Stigma backstage. Los Lobos, Vinny Stigma. I'm like, so to me, that's like, you know, again, it's cool. I met, you know, we play with Black Sabbath, my favorite band, dope. I play with Metallica, cool. But I mean, Los Lobos and shit like that is like kind of cool.
Well, you're going to enjoy this fun fact. Fredo, our previous drummer, he's playing in Los Lobos now.
Get out of here. You see how that works? Look at that shit. You see,
Fredo, he was in the Beasties, in you know, in their lineup, that whole instrumental era, and just their live outfit.
Gotcha.
You know, and which is why we ended up doing a record in our Oscilloscope studio in the Adams studio here in Tribeca, when Fredo joined. So yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I get what you're saying. That musicians of other
like
vibe, but
like
that connects with our vibe. Well,
yeah.
for me, like a doorway into that was like Brazil. Like as we started that whole South America, Eastern Europe exchange program. Yeah, I ended up living in Brazil for 7 years. Because people came to my party and they're like, "Hey,
I do not feel bad for you. You hear this guy, like, Pedro? You hear him? I live in Brazil. I don't feel sorry for you at all, Eugene."
So
we're in Brazil. What city? What city? Sao Paulo. Oh, my friend, my Rio's my spot too. Porra. Shot. Listen, exactly. Brazil listens to us deep, and Matt, and you already, they got roots in punk, hardcore.
Yeah.
Sao Paulo, of course, but Rio too. Madball's first
shows
in Brazil was, Rio brought us out. Like we were playing Rio de Janeiro early
90s. From the South de Progresso, probably.
Crazy. It was good times, crazy times. Like great, wow. We played a garage. It's crazy. Really crazy. Insane. Rio de Janeiro style.
The vibe. I was there, and because there's a punk scene. I mean, you probably know Comunidade Ninjitsu.
Yeah, of course. All those guys, of course, And the guys that brought us were the Boneyard Boys. They had one record shop that had hardcore punk for a little while. They had a little tattoo shop.
Right.
And they're the ones who brought us out. They ended up being, one of them passed away, my boy Sergio, but they were the guys who brought us, like hardcore fanatics.
Yeah.
They had a little store. They just loved it. They were like, we got to bring you to Rio. And then we ended up doing Rio, Curitiba, Santos, all that. Many times, man, we were lucky, man.
Curitiba, huge Ukrainian community. So
wow.
It's amazing because, a lot of Ukrainians in Argentina, Brazil, and in fact, Freddie Chernobyl from Comunidade Ninjitsu.
Yeah.
I was already playing their stuff in my DJ sets here in New York. Once I got there, we met, a couple parties together. Turns out to be that dude is Ukrainian too.
Crazy. You Ukrainians.
Yeah.
Listen, you know what? I think they eat the ceviche because there's a Ukrainian everywhere. You know what I mean?
So we ate our pierogies there.
Exactly.
But from the kind of like other kind of walk of musician in Brazil is a kind of good gateway because their vibe is so it's Brazilian vibe. So Seu Jorge is probably like a musician that stands out to me in a way that he's not rock or but more kind of really like that soulful samba vibe. But I really got into that. Like I was kind of almost like became like collecting bootlegs kind of level fanatic, even though like that dude was like bringing me onto his show on his bike, you know what I mean? Just like sneak right the security, hop on this fucking thing and we're there. But I was like, this dude is like a portal into some like fucking vibe that I'm jonesing for, it's just so soulful and like super unique and kind of dark, but like super swaggered. So Seu Jorge, and once in a while we'll connect with like musicians that I don't know, like Robert Plant, like from
that's what I mean. What people would know, like obviously, because being musicians, sure, we're like, oh, look at this guy, but the fact is, being musicians, we're jaded. That all the cool shit ain't cool no more, unfortunately. But I still know that it's cool to some people, like the 101, like that. Because I know I'm curious of that. Because I know, like, somebody out of the Robert Plants must have seen you guys and cannot deny it and be like, yo, that shit is fucking. I like that shit.
That's the thing. I'm only mentioning people who are like meaningful in terms of like there's continuity, like we keep in touch. And
fuck that. Who cares? No, those are real, but I'm talking about the fakers, the part-time pop. I'm just saying it for the pop star, for the fantasy, forget the real people. But like the Robert Plant, no, because it's cool to show, people from our world. I always appreciate it still like that. Like wow, guys from this world who could appreciate that, because I hear us in that and punk and hardcore in that. Wow, they like that. They like craziness. Oh, they hear, you know what I mean? I could kind of connect the dots. And it surprises me sometimes. That's why I'm always curious and shit, you know?
Yeah, no, there is that. I mean, it's funny because Robert came to we met him first time in 2005, and he came because he said John Paul Jones told him to go and check it. You know
what I mean?
So
exactly.
like,
imagine that.
Yeah,
like,
no, that sounds kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly. No, but that's what I mean. That's real cool because, you know, like I'm saying, like I'm not even into these bands, but when there's OGs that come from the music scene and we're recognized, it's good to be recognized for what we do. You know that, because we put a heart into it. So it's even if I don't like you, but you appreciate my heart, I cannot hate you for appreciating my heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that the hardcore scene actually has a lot of it has a lot of extra kind of cred that it's sometimes maybe not aware of, because it has such a, you know, it's integrity driven kind of scene, and when you're inside of it, it's a cult, you know. It's small. It's not the biggest scene in the world, but it's consistent. It's there, and it's a fucking great art form. So everybody is fucking who has art, whoever has a fucking knack for art sees it from 100 miles away.
For sure.
Yeah, especially New York hardcore, because it's so distilled. You know, it's like, you know, I mean, I had a, you know, like my friends, you know, who've been around who grew up here, they always say, you know, you have a unique perspective because you kind of saw it from outside and suddenly, and in non-chronological order. And I kind of thought about it, because Jesse Malin reminds me of that all the time. Like, you know, like you see it in a very kind of like fucking panoramic way, but all at once.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's exciting for me because I'm still figuring out kind of like a puzzle, you know?
Yeah.
It's a lot of like, a lot of that. But what's important is that it's a very charismatic, and you know, my uncle is a painter, so I grew up with him, like
expressing,
babysitting me, like, you know, he's like academically trained painter, composition, fucking, you know, like my family thought I'm gonna become a painter too. I went into punk rock instead, but part of me is in that land, you know what I mean? So when I see that like music has this aesthetic, and they have the look, and they have the logo, and the logo reflects the music, and it's all distilled like that. Yeah, it's a great art form. And now, you know, years go by, and I listen to these songs, and I'm like during pandemic, people were like, you know, looking, you know, for to go to stuff, to get them through stuff or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
I just went back to listening to, like, you know, all the hardcore records, and in fact, you know, and that's why the songs they're always in the back of my mind, like standing test of time. So I start playing them acoustically. Yeah. And that's kind of how the whole thing came about. But I wanted to play something because I dig this out recently.
All right.
So so my friend in Ukraine, right, saved this fucking tape from 1990, right? Like, this is the tape.
A tape, everybody, kids over there.
It's a tape made in Soviet Union. See, like the fucking.
Look at that shit.
So I brought this tape with me, blank, from Soviet Ukraine back then. Wow. And as I was learning about, you know, hardcore here, I was actively exporting what I was learning about, and I had this like audio zine going. Yeah. That's selling mailing tapes, and so. This is the tape from back then that I sent to my friend. You know, you gotta get loaded this. This is what's up. And so, this is my audio zine from 1990. And yeah, wow. You feel me? Like,
Good taste. You got good taste. I knew that already. When I heard the cover, I knew.
do you get the fuck up and if you like, you just don't care. You know?
That's amazing. When you showed me that tape, he showed it the other day. I go, oh shit. I go, and he had a zine, you know. Again,
Yeah, well,
I'm a super hardcore kid, but there's a special hardcore kid that wants to talk about it. You know, that's, and I was like, wow, he was really, really, really.
Yeah, I was writing for fanzines back in Ukraine, so I came here to just continue. But it's
great.
Like, I had a whole kind of like, let's rewind a little bit. Breakdown.
My shit.
It's gonna get
yeah, it's insane. It's insane how back then you were I don't want to say that there's fake hardcore. And I don't want to, don't get me wrong. I don't hate on the new hardcore. It's a different, you know, it's just different. But it's crazy how back then when it was so hard to find music, you were getting the real shit.
Totally.
I know.
Like in the gutter, like, you know, that's the message in jail that's passed around in the mouth. and that's not easy shit. It was, again, suicidal. Everybody knew suicide. Everybody knew Bad Brains. That's easier. That stuff wasn't. You had to really be into the culture.
Well, I had a kind of guardian angels in a certain respect because, as you know, I landed in Vermont, but as I said, it's funny to hear now. Fucking people talk about all inclusivity, you know. It's like, dude, in punk rock scene, it was never not like it was always like this. Like they had no fucking business like befriending some dude from Ukraine, and we didn't. Like it was, and I befriended them, and you know, it wasn't like, hey, here's one record. People would be like, here, take this whole fucking thing. Go and see it at the show, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, my voice here sounds like it's like, you know, 45 speed, but there's some leeway.
That's great. That's everything I'm listening to at the gym, minus ourselves, but everything else. But that's great. Look at this is why also I again, I know you came from the scene and whatever, but again, pulling out certain bands to me, I'm like, no. Because I was in those rooms. I wasn't there in 1980.
Right.
My first show was in 88. But it was still, you know, still smaller. It's bigger. It wasn't like Rogers' era and Jimmy G's era. But to know Rest in Pieces back then, you had to be a hardcore kid. And even if you were into metal, everybody didn't know Hellhammer back then, unless you were into real underground, you know, black metal. If you went to the underground stuff, everybody knew Metallica at one point and Slayer, but they didn't know the Hellhammers, you know, or the Venom when that came out, all the extreme stuff. You know, when you knew that, you go, okay, they're really into it.
It's like,
let's get that shit out. Let's not turn up. What do we got there?
Well, since we spent so much time talking about Rest in Pieces, it's like, might as well throw something in, you know. 5 golden rings on your hand. Don't tell me you live an honest life. Out of all the trash that we create, so that it just don't add up. Serving all that wonder trash bread, wonder bread trash that comes around. But out on the street with a money full of pocket, with a pocket full of money in the world in your feet. Won't last too long. Crackdown come and take you away. Out on the street with a pocket full of money in the world in your feet.
That's my shit.
Last too long. When it ends, your filthy hands won't wear 5 golden rings.
That's the baddest riff right there. Yeah, listen.
The fucking thing is that this song is great, like sound just like on the guitar.
Listen, first of all, Armand and Craig are gonna love it. And again, this is crazy, Peasants. So when he told me that, and then he mentioned again, Rest in Pieces was my first hardcore show that I went to live. And 5 Gold Rings came out later. But when that riff came up, it's kind of the style that I do of New York hardcore, that jumpy shit. So when he's like 5 go, and I go, man, he even picked the song. I told him the live version is my favorite, and I'm actually real good friends with them. When they were writing that record, I used to hang out at their house called the Schick House. It was a known house. Craig, my boy Devil, and Armine lived there. So when they would do the demos for that record, they would bring it back, and I'd get to hear it. So I was like, I loved it because that was like my favorite band was Rest in Pieces. Rest in Pieces and Raw Deal, and then Cro-Mags, AF, of course, and all that. But that's great. And when you knew that, I was like blown away. But when I wanted
to my shit, man, seriously. Even the first record was amazing. And
I
was
the
just
7-inch?
What's that?
You know the Rest in Pieces 7-inch?
Rest in Peace 7-inch.
So it was Armine was originally the guitarist, and they had another singer, and it sounded like shit. But when they did the My Rage, they fucking
I don't have that.
Yeah,
I do have this one.
The Free for All. That's the shit.
Yeah.
That's where they do the best version of No Rings. I was there, and I was there.
I'm sure you were.
I was at everything. You couldn't get rid of me.
I was hanging out with a friend of mine. We used to jam back in Ukraine. He was in a bunch of in Vermont. He was in a bunch of hardcore bands up there, and we were constantly on it. He was one of the Rest in Pieces cult.
Yeah.
And he pulled out a couple tapes where we're playing Rest in Pieces songs.
That's great.
And just Keep Your Distance. We were covering that. We were
great. It's like a rock song. Those are great songs. They were like for hardcore bands, they're really making songs now. Before, your kids, you're making Heavy Mean. They were writing a song. Oh, they got a section for solos. Oh, they got a chorus.
Right.
They were paying attention to really writing songs instead of just, a hard track kind of thing. That's what I liked about it. I was like, they got my mind working a little bit.
No, there's so much talent in there. In fact, that's where kind of Walter and I kind of connected on that a lot because,
I was going to say.
He's got that like songwriter mind too. And,
big time.
And, we became friends on tour,
Yeah.
And like 10 years ago or something.
Not recent.
Like 8, 7.
2017, 2018.
Oh, you're doing more.
On the road with us.
14.
Yeah.
So Walter, 14, yeah. So, I I loved Gorilla Biscuits and, and Quicksand and Warzone, Walter, the champion of Warzone,
yeah, hell yeah.
And like the more I was talking to him about it, it's like we kind of were going over stuff that had like a strong song impact in a way that like, it was like easy to see it through kind of like Woody Guthrie kind of perspective.
Yeah.
Like, this is, Woody Guthrie, like listen to the song, you know exactly what it's about. It's fucking 2 minutes long and that's all it needs to be.
Yeah.
You fascist, you're bound to lose. That's
yeah.
Off.
Yeah. But it's good. No, but that's what I was. It's funny you got into because I was about to ask. Exactly how was it writing with Walter because he's a songwriter guy. I had him on the podcast a while ago because even though that was the first time we ever met was doing the podcast. We never had met, but obviously we've been around.
Right.
We know of each other for years, and I'm a fan. So I'm a kid. I know that he's the songwriter, and I'm the songwriter guy too. I'm really into the theories, what people thinking about, what the influences into sections and blah blah blah. And he's one of those guys. And then I saw that you guys did the record with him, and I was like, wow, that shit must have been cool. A lot of creative shit must have been happening.
It was meaningful in the sense that exactly because songwriter connection, but also just reaching that like maximum impact, I did my laboratory fucking production work, like sweated it. And then, and then to hear that, like, we have a chord on something and we get there fast. It's just really reassuring.
Yeah.
And also, like I'm kind of like, I tend to get like a little bit overly arrangement kind of fucking thing,
Of course, you're a singer. I know you want your fingers. The control.
Exactly.
I'm a control guy too. But I know how it is. You got,
we all have that side, but I think it was great because with Walter on board, he was just like, dude, it's fucking done.
Yeah. Like, don't think about it. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like, don't redo it.
Yeah.
This is it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And because I already trust his judgment for so long, because like I have fucking all his records.
Yeah.
Like, and we already got smashed in the bar on the topic several times.
Yeah.
Then it makes this process be a blast.
Yeah.
Rather than some kind of tedious fucking trial and error.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of in a way a beautiful thing of coming back around to how music should be done, because we come from that world and we go on this fucking journey, making it more complicated and more baroque
and
all that.
It gets stale. Everything gets
but
stale.
At the end of the day, it's fucking clang, clang, bang, bang, and make it sweaty, make it dirty, make a pure impact. So bring it back.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? So in a way, in that way, he was a perfect dude to collab with.
Yeah, that's good. Where you did the record at? Did you where was the studio at?
So we went up and tracked really fast. Like, we booked 5 days in Vermont, because I always wanted to do finally a record in Vermont, because we always do it in like Chicago or LA or New York or but it's always different place. But I was like, I gotta like pay the respects, where I landed.
And in Jerry's,
a great studio there, and some cool bands. Raw Francis is a cool band from there. That's and there's also a Drowning Man, a fucking dope hardcore band that they were in Revelation actually.
Yeah, and I remember the name.
Yeah. So they have bands that made mark and made waves in the hardcore for sure. So I kind of wanted to go and do it. So we tracked in 4 days, got back here to Brooklyn and Rift Studio.
Gotcha.
Great spot, and I think we got it done in like 10 days with Walter.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Good. And Pedro, you recorded with them before? This was your first recording? Yeah, you did one.
I've been with Gogol recording since 2004.
Oh, those recordings.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We did an EP, and from there on, it's been in every single album. There's always a little Pedrito there.
He sings he sings all the parts in Spanish. Like, as you're listening to the record, that's all Pedro. And
exactly.
He does a lot of. I sing one in Spanish. I do the Mala Vida. We do Mano Negra cover.
Yeah. Listen, once you let an Ecuadorian in, it's hard to get them out. So you fucked up. Get used to.
We share a lot of nostalgia and musical, finesse. So easy to immediately connect.
Yeah. That's great. When it's like that, I could tell, man. Like, even with the whole band, like, I don't know who's permanent, who's longer, who was not, but everybody looked like vibing. You know who I was blown away by? I was blown away by everybody, but my man on the violin.
Yes,
listen. I've got to play many festivals. The Apocalyptic guy, cool violin.
Right.
I've done with the metal bands, with the violin. I did all the spooky shit. So I listen. I know that I'm a gorilla. I'm from the streets, but I got an ear on what's what. I'm not even joking. He was doing the one section solo for one of the songs, and I stopped, and I think I told my boy, I go, this is too good for these motherfuckers. Like, he don't need to get, like, my skin was that, like, there was probably people crying. And I was like, he don't need to give it that much. Like, half of that is already.
I said that to myself every gig.
I know, like, there's great players. Man, no, really. Wow. I was blown away.
Well, in a way, when you said, who are the musicians that you like from a different walk, I mean, they're in our band. We connected because of fucking New York City, and I went kind of out of my way to find Sergey, and once I got him, I was just like, dude, we got a gig day after tomorrow, and you are in. And he was like, what do you mean? Like, who's that? Who's the band? I was like, it's not important,
Just
like,
don't worry.
You there, bro? Like,
just do that. I swear that. And again, why again I got excited about you guys. It's not what I would normally listen to. It's not normally what I could be like, yo, yeah, it was cool. Yeah, they could play. Like I was like, wow, I didn't think I would like it that much. And then I watched from everything about it, from the playing, the visual, the sound, the writing. I'm like, man, it's a full experience. Like I said, the Circus of Soleil with fucking guitars. Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, this also really means a lot for me, you know, to hear this, because you know, I mean, it's like this kind of really a fundamental influence, you know.
Yeah.
all the hardcore for me was like really important, you know. And I mean, I saw Madball back in Club Toast, you know, several times.
Yeah, crazy. Those are OG spots. That was V
spot.
spot. I know that because we would do shows where we would literally drive from New York just to do one show at Club Toast and back, and that was a lot of hours in the middle of the winter. You know?
Yeah. I remember you guys played there like probably about 6 or 7 times.
It was another home for us. A great scene, but
Justin
again,
and Dennis, 2 dudes
everything about it.
Great dudes.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of great shows there. And in the same time, I started to drive to New York City, you know, in my shitty car to see shows. You know, right about the 94, 95, 96, I was like, my vector was set, because all the music I was excited about wasn't coming from fucking, you know, Seattle, dude.
Yeah, exactly. For sure.
One more time, here we go.
Yeah.
But anyway, one way or another, you know, I started driving there. And it blew me away, because, you know, I would go to New York and stay with my friends from, I don't know if you ever heard Ultra B-Day was this Japanese crazy kind of like noisecore avant-garde punk band. They were in Alternative Tentacles. Like, you know, I was friends with them. I would come out and stay with Hide and go to Brownies and Coney Island High, you know, of course. And I would be like going, and then I came and played with my previous band, the Cossacks, we played in CB's. Gabby from Molotov Cocktail, who worked sound in CB's, was a good friend of mine. I was like, wow, another punk rocker from Eastern Europe. He was from
yeah.
So, you know, I started coming, and I'll be like, go to Brownies, and then like walk a block around, be like, yo, it's a Ukrainian restaurant.
I know.
Okay. Then I was like, you know, go to Coney Island High and
up the block.
Go across the block and be like, Ukrainian social club.
That social club, we grew up passing that shit. You know, there was always hip hop clubs and, you know, doing something there. Yeah, something.
So it was like, there's so much like punk rock / Ukrainians, punk rock / Ukrainian. I was like, I gotta go here. This is my place. Like, you know?
Yeah, it's funny how shit happens. And then you go from listening to these bands. You meet fucking Pedro. He's a fan. He meets you at the bar. You're doing the DJ shit, right? Oh, you went to see, right? He goes to see you. He's in the band. Now you end up doing a fucking record with some guy that you were listening to as a kid, right?
Exactly.
And you're mad albums and like one, I could tell. Obviously, you guys are musician guys. You guys I could tell you guys love making music. I could tell you love playing. Right now, you just dropped the record. What's your guys' mentality right now? Like, yeah, we just dropped the record. We ready to go out and tour. We want to play. We want to do this. We want to like. What's the attitude in the band now? Because you know, some people are dropping records now and just like, oh, we're gonna drop a record and maybe play a little. Or some people are like, oh, motivated to like, let's hit the road hard. We got a lot of, for whatever reason, a lot of energy or whatever up. Like, what's the mentality now of the band with the new record and everything?
Well, it's more the later. It's we're not the kind of like, let's drop it and see what happens kind of people. We're like more, let's go and bulldoze this shit.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, we're actually, this tour starts in a week.
Yeah, I saw it.
And we're gonna go out. Then we're gonna go to Europe after this. Pretty much, I mean, we already did like 120 shows this year.
Yeah.
So back out there, and it's an intense year because it's in this year we take on more than just art thing. It's it's a Ukraine resistance hardcore year, and there's a lot of responsibility on that front too.
Yep.
Because even connecting dots and with other musicians, a lot of musicians came out of the woodwork. I mean, let me rephrase that. The first musicians who came out to support Ukraine, like who were not Ukrainians.
Got you.
Who were they?
Yeah. Oh, of course. I know you mean from the scene.
Yeah, they were like first track I saw somebody posted in support of Ukraine from not Ukrainian musicians.
Yeah.
Was Pete and Lou from Sick of It All.
Yeah. No, I know, of course, So,
of course, here we go again. Then I got on the phone with Jello, Biafra, who was like, are we making a new track or are we repurposing all, you know what I mean? Like there's a concept for that. Or, old Jurgensen from Ministry, Yeah. Just like legit dudes who are like on it and like you don't need to explain anything. Like they already know who is the doers, and it's like respect to the doers. So right now is, going out there is more about playing music, and it's more about keep telling the story authentically about Ukraine, that it's people's struggle. Because people get lost in that like fucking it's age of disinformation, People thought it was age of information. It's fucking Kali Yuga of disinformation. And for fuck's sake, people look at certain people for guidance, unfortunately Joe Strummer is not here right now.
Yeah.
And there's not, some guidance gets kind of smeared.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is that like, it's like, hey, there is a lot of theories out there and a lot of info, and there's a lot of talk and jive about proxy wars and all this stuff. But it's like, in the essence, it's people's struggle that's been going on for centuries.
Yeah.
It's not a new thing.
Yeah.
And once people understand it, they look at it in a different way. They're like, it's easy for them to understand that.
Yeah.
Obviously, people's struggle is outside of context of any proxy war.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a long ass tribal resistance that's been there for centuries. I'm from there, I know.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with any kind of like new fermented frequencies of current political climate. Yeah. It's not about that at all, actually.
I get it. And to me, at the end of the day, I break it down to this. That's your fucking story. Ain't nobody could tell you your fucking story. If they like the scenario or not, if they like the way you present it or not, that's your fucking story. That's exactly the problem. The problem today, you got to watch how you explain your reality, because if they get offended about your reality, people shit on you. Whatever the side be, I don't pick a side. I like hearing the sides. We all have a side on whatever. I like chocolate. I don't like this. I like that. Whatever it be. But my whole shit is that it's like, the people to just be authentic. And if that's your story and that's what you feel in your gut, that's what you rock with, because you die by yourself. And when you're on your deathbed, unfortunately, I got to see a lot of people pass away. Like I got to see them die in front of me. Right. And one thing I do know, the last thing you want anybody, from my experience at least, is you want to make sure you go out with every stone unturned the way you wanted to, as much as you can before you go out. So my wife, rest in peace, my mother, people like that, they went out like that. They said, listen, I'm going to take care, let you know what's what. This is how I feel. If you like it or not, I'm going to let you know, because you know what? Then you could rest in peace. I say this all the time. Me, same reason. I go to sleep fine every night, because I wear who the fuck I am on my sleeve. I can't hide it. I can't hide who I am. You know what I mean? It comes out of my pores. I'm loud. I'm this, but everybody knows me. I'm a good dude. I'm a real dude. And you fuck with me or my family, I'll punch you in the face. And if you like me and I like you, I'll hug you and I'll do anything for you. My life, very simple. Very simple. But my whole thing is, what you see is what you get. I say a lot of words. I may say bitch, this word. I'm sorry if people get offended. It's my upbringing. I'm a work in progress. But my whole point is, everybody has their story, and people just got to respect everybody's experience. And if you do that, okay, you may think I disagree or whatever, but that's your experience. You know, it's
Yeah,
like
totally.
people got
No,
to just start learning.
we also I guess within the band spirits we are also in a mission of under this idea of solidarity with Ukraine flag. We also unifying other people's struggles, you know.
Yeah, for
So I
sure.
think this length of tour is going to be very energetically, you know, positive to the whole band because we are finally engaged into this mission, you know,
Yeah.
to keep the message alive.
And what's great about it, again, having ethnicity in the band for a lot of reasons, not just for that, is one, it shows New York City. You guys in New York City. Nothing shows New York than variety. One. Number two, uh, um, if your story is to bring the Ukraine story there. Look at you have an Ecuadorian with you. You got another guy. You know, it's showing. It still is like we all could associate with struggle. We all, and you know what? Guess what? How about if we didn't? How about if Pedro was fine, but you know what? That's your boy, so he got your back. How about that? How about that? Should be good enough. That should be good enough to take your boys back when they have something and they're passionate about. That's the problem right now. People that used to love each other and that used to die for each other, now they're stabbing each other in their back for people that don't got their back. That's the problem going on in everyday life, unfortunately, now. So, you know, like, again, I back like the whole hey, we got a message, and whatever your message is, and you know what? This is the way we want to go. We want to make it, we have a mission. This is what we're planning to do, being assertive and doing it in a cool way with music, with the show, with the layout, the presentation, not just let me go on the internet and say some bullshit that everybody else is saying. That's easy.
Yeah, you're talking authentic humanity, you know, and in a lot of ways, it's like, you know, this turmoil and crisis in Ukraine, because it's so exposed to the world. In a way, it's kind of like, may bring up some of those values that to fucking behold that you're mentioning are kind of drifting away because people losing the fucking code, you know.
For sure.
They don't know what matters anymore. But this kind of shit brings out things that really matters and to live by, you know what I mean? Because people there, it's nobody but people who is providing all that resistance. I mean, it's, you can arm it or disarm it all you want, but if people motivation and engagement shoulder to shoulder is not there, nothing's gonna help. But the reason why Ukraine is winning and pushing them out with every second as we speak, I mean, we were just there. You know, we performed there.
I saw
so,
that.
Yeah, I mean, I know, and we know the vibe. It's like nobody's scared there. You know what I mean? They're kicking ass. So
you know, people been fighting forever. You know, but a lot of some people also assume that in this part of the world, sometimes we're ignorant in the way that we forget these wars. They've been fighting each other for a long time. These people are like, where I say the faces, beautiful people with stern faces. There's a reason. You know what I mean? A very hard upbringing coming up in those areas. You know, a lot of turmoil and just rough. You know, from in every angle. But the good thing is, what I like is, there's people right now coming out with messages, and they got a bullshit product. Maybe the message is cool because it's in or whatever, but they got a bullshit product, and you can tell they made the bullshit product to just make the message. To me, I think that's bullshit, and vice versa. Now, if you happen to have a good product and you have a message, boom, that's the full package. You know, not that you need I'm just saying it's easy to go on the computer and I could put a Twitter under a fake name and put blah, 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 blah. You know, all right. But no, let me put up a collage of pictures of why I feel or whatever it be. Now, okay, now you're putting more into it. You really have it's now you guys, you have music. I know what it is to put yourself out there just with the music. Forget the lyrics, forget that. Just your music, you put yourself out there. Now you have some something that is has a lot of people behind it. You know, there's also blood on it, or however you want to, there's passion behind it, blood, there's tears on it. That's it's you have to be responsible, whatever it be. And it's also as a musician, I think how you peak when you could have a message, have a product that works like a machine and love what you're doing you know what I mean? Be far in the game and still have that fire. I think you're peaking by that. You know, if you could do that as a musician, I mean, what more you want to still be in it? That to be that excited about something with a fucking with a moral behind it, or behind with something substance behind it, and being something we did as kids for fun. Now we're grown men with the same passion. Listen, to me, I don't know what more is. I never won the Olympics, the gold medal in the Olympics, but I feel like I won the gold medal sometimes because that I'm lucky who I am to do what I did and come from where I come from. You know, like, you know, my son, I'm proud to tell my son everything I've done, what we write about, what we sing about, and what I've done. If it was the mistakes or the good, you know. So, you know, and that's all from. We made sure when we did music, it wasn't like let's write some tough guy shit. We just happen to be tough guys that has something to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How old is your son?
I got two. One is 10 and one is 14.
Oh,
so,
man. So 14. That's like, you know. I remember on this tape, in my zine, I tell a story that Freddie was 13, I think, when he started Madball.
You want to know what? He was 7 the first time he was on stage.
Yeah, I know the famous photo. But I know the photo for sure.
But the 7, the 12, 12, 13, he did the 7-inch. Crazy. I
tell that story here because, you know, like, that's like, and it sounds ferocious. It sounds like that. The release is just unbelievable, you know. And I play acoustically, I covered that song because I remember those songs from then, you know, like, I mean, I looked up a little bit more lyrics so I can, like,
of course,
understand better structure. But you know what I mean? Like, most of it just stuck with me from back then.
You want to know something funny? That Madball actually really officially started becoming a band was because of Europe. Because it came out in America and it was cool. You know, Freddie used to come out with AF when he was little. You know, wow, he was 7, 10 years old. And you look at the little kid singing the song, crazy. But what happened was when AF played in Italy the first time, they brought Madball out. And people were yelling for Madball. They were telling AF, when you bring in Madball, they were like, it was just a 7-inch. It was in Europe. They started, it made a noise and then started picking up. And then when they came home, they started saying, hey, maybe we do this Madball stuff. This is when he did the Dropping Many Suckers. But later on, he was a teenager. But was because of Europe. If it wasn't for Europe, there'd probably be no Madball. You know, Europe was the first to be like, yo, we like that shit. Like, you know, even more than America. America was like, again, America at that time was getting too cool for school. You know, like, even including myself, the hardcore was more swag. You know what I mean? Like, I was already bringing, like, I brought the metal element into Madball. Because I loved oi and old style shit. But I was already like, I want to do groove shit. I want to do shit with the break, you know, halftime. So Madball was doing that. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I did that. Like, all right, now I want to do that. I want to break it down. Okay, so little by little, I would sneak it in. You know what I mean?
Like, so you probably dig like Maximum Penalty.
Yeah, like Raw Deal was my favorite because Raw Deal was not straight metal, but it wasn't just punk. Hardcore.
Yeah. It was a little intricate and funky. It was almost fusiony in some way.
Yeah, you know? Very fusiony. It was like more rock than metal, but I liked that. And then what I loved was
I love the demo, their first demo. I have a tape for that too.
That's the greatest.
Unreal.
What happened was when Cro-Mags did the second record, which I liked, but my main thing was they got full stacks. Now, look at I wanted to be. We wear the hardcore flag. Back then as kids, we were like, fuck everybody, New York hardcore. But metal always was tighter, sonically better. Not attitude-wise, but sonically, you know, technically they had better equipment, playing tight, but they didn't have the attitude like the hardcore band. When Cro-Mags and Leeway, now you got 2 guitars, full stacks, they're doing solos. Now I was like, okay.
Yeah,
now we can do that.
Expire is absolutely untouchable.
So that's what I did. So and Set It Off. So Madball was doing that. My first song was a song called It's Time and Set It Off. So I already started doing because you could hear the it's Judas Priest. That's what I like. The thrash. You know, that's my shit. So I was like, Madball was doing that, right? So I was like, okay, now,
Well,
in
a way,
I started doing that shit, you know?
Like the joy you were describing was kind of, I mean, I think that worked for a lot of people because, yeah, you started metal, then you move on to punk, and then you go on like or don't, or you kind of like, you never go back to metal unless unless you're kind of like one of like more energy driven guys like us who like still need the grit and like the grind's got to be on. So, you know, hardcore kind of gave a chance to go back to like metal, but in a fucking more advanced way.
Yes.
Like not singing about like some outlandish shit. But
exactly.
Like singing about street.
Yep.
But with a crunch.
Yeah.
And I was all over that. Like
the presentation. Yeah, the presentation and the same thing. That's the thing. Like I even seen in South America early because we were lucky. The first place I played with Madball outside of America was Buenos Aires, Argentina, '93.
Yeah, that's it.
Crazy a real hardcore scene, but it was also went like old New York hardcore scene where it was a lot of metal and skins, hardcore kids, punks, everybody just liking the hard shit. And 1993, I went there. I was like, they were waiting for us in the airport. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, who the fuck? We're a hardcore band, and these were real hardcore kids. You know, I was blown away. I was like, wow, like, you know, and they fucking lived the shit. And then I learned, you know, the history, how punk was in South America, you know, in the Brazils and Argentinas. Early, we play with Ratos Pojado.
Ratos Pojado.
With Gordo.
Yeah. No, from Sao Paulo.
These guys are like the OGs from Sao Paulo, and like he used to host MTV show, and Freddie did like him and Gordo play like a video game against each other on MTV in Brazil. Like, but it's like I learned how deep, and like the Ramones went to Argentina back in the day.
Yeah.
There's a whole school. There's a whole school of punks out of that.
Yeah.
For sure.
I remember that Joey was saying that the reason why they called their last album Adios Amigos because they were just saying goodbye to people there because that's where they thought their real fan base was.
For sure, they loved them. And for me, playing Ecuador, I'm from Guayaquil more, which I never got to, but they're more coastal. So I got to play Quito. And
with Smokin?
Yeah, I forgot where was the spot, but the metal dudes came through. It was great. It was a crazy show. Yeah. And again, like I never thought I would play Ecuador. When I saw it, I go, this is bullshit. Like Ecuador. Like I know they know metal, but I'm like, they booking a hardcore band? Because, you know, usually you need to come through with a bigger act. Like maybe if it was like a, you know, Napalm Death and somebody or Stack Sepultura with somebody. Okay.
Right.
I was like, a Madball show? You know, it's for sure Brazil always in Argentina, but I was like, Ecuador, we got to play there. It was great. Like, I have an uncle who just happened to be there, and he came to the show. Like, I'm like, you know, we got to walk up to the fucking to the Saint, do you know the whole thing, the half of the en medio del mundo, all the tourist shit.
Nice.
Yeah, you know, yeah. And I'm like, for me, it's great because you know I never thought, you know, for my father, I was like, look to Ecuador, like you know, he'd be like this crazy shit. You always tell me this noise. Took me to Ecuador.
You ever getting into chicha and that psychedelic cumbia and all that stuff?
No, like I know, like I've been around it or whatever, so I know it. So I'm like, but no, I dabble in a little of everything, you know. So
I got so much from my brother over here. Like I was for a while, like I was becoming like more cumbia DJ than he was.
Yeah, the cumbia. My father sings. That. My father sings a lot of old style Ecuadorian songs, the old bolero shit. The old,
that's right. That's
like,
right.
Oh, you know,
pasillos and all that stuff.
Yeah, like that. My father. Next time I'm gonna send it to you. I got a CD. Well, I'm gonna get it to you guys. My father has a CD he did. His nickname is Train Face. We got flat noses, and they said we got smashed by a train. So, but they call him, and he made a CD with his friends. But he's a good singer, and it was called El Tren de Amor, the train of love.
The love train.
But
respect.
But I'm gonna get you guys some stuff, and I want to get later on. I'm gonna get your address, both you guys. I want to send you some gear. I got some shit I print for my.
Por favor, man, definitely.
We do the swap, the info swap.
Yeah. After I'm gonna get it from Eugene and whatever. But yeah, listen. This is. I'm glad I got you guys on this one because this is my first podcast back in a while. I do the other show, and I wanted to come hard. And you're the first guys that I chased, that the minute I saw, I said that I didn't personally know. I was like, nah, I gotta get these motherfuckers. I said, they know too many people near me for me not to be able to get at them. And I was like, I gotta get them on. That's why I reached out right away.
And once again, it was all connected in punk rock vortex. I mean, it was a riot fest.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
How fucking dope! Like we literally the whole day we went and saw like
everybody.
So we went. So you, Bad Religion. We got on stage, so Misfits. Like
I know,
like,
me too. I was like,
like, honey, I'm home.
Exactly. I was psyched, and again, I'm glad I was able to see you guys and make this happen. Equa Power. I got even happy. He goes, "Yo, we got an Ecuadorian." And I said, "Oh, okay, we got to do this." Yeah. But what do you? I'm glad. We're gonna do another one later where we're gonna go into more shit. I want to get a couple of my friends, and we're gonna talk some music shit because I want to get into percussion, and we're gonna talk about like putting songs together and theories and shit.
Sure, man. Yeah.
But what you guys want to let the people, because a lot of people around, that's the one thing about the hardcore family and about my podcast that I'm lucky. We from every point of the world, there's somebody listening, and we get a lot of good feedback from all over the planet. So that's why I'm glad I was able to do this, especially during the pandemic, to keep our culture alive. And I got to see, man, wow, this family is big of ours. I forget that this underground hardcore punk thing of ours is universal.
Yeah, man, totally.
What do you want to let everybody know listening right now? You have a new record, but what you want to let them know what's going on, what to expect from Gogol Bordello, where to look out for you, all that shit, and all that good shit.
Well, listen, I mean, we are a fraction of the cultural fucking corridor known as punk rock. Like this thing, I was, when I was 13 years old, I thought punk rock was already old,
crazy.
But 30 years later, I'm like, that's the best thing that ever happened. Like,
I
nothing
agree.
better than it happened. So
Agreed.
meaning punk and hardcore, and just because it's a music with meaning and substance and purpose.
For sure.
As the fucking world gets full of shit more and more, with every second, and more disinformation and more fake ass shit, I think that the message of punk rock and hardcore is only fucking rising, and it's bound to come back and get more stronger because it's got substance. It's got emotional substance. It's not just hype. It's not about just getting followers. And it's like, let's lose followers. That's fucking fine.
Yeah.
Let's represent it, authentic humanity through music, and that's the message. And I think it's worldwide culture. We go to Brazil, Japan, Australia, or here back in New York City, or I go back to Ukraine. It's all there. The corridor is there. It's not different.
Yeah, for sure.
It's everywhere, and it's powerful, and it's thriving, and I feel like it's all fucking coming back around.
Yeah,
and it's exciting to be part of it.
Yeah,
good
shit.
Like I'm sure there was times on everybody's time when you were like, something's got to give. I want to like break out and experiment with that. And so you do, and then you come back to this because it's a great fucking home base.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, punk rock aesthetic is very strong, and it's vital, and it's here for fucking sure to stay.
Again,
keep supporting the live music, brother, for sure. Because at the end of the day, the unification is what is gonna keep us lasting long.
That's for sure, and that's important. What you said, I agree. The live music is very important, especially coming from the underground like we do. Like it ain't record sales is different. Those days are different. Nobody cares. It's the support we get and the energy we get is better from at the shows. You know what I mean? And again, whatever the message be, when you're a band that has talent and plays with passion, and has a message to me, it's a hard act to follow. That's what you guys are, big time. Again, I love what you guys do. And I'm going to drop this. I'm dropping this Thursday, so you're going to be on the road next week, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. Next Friday, we're already on.
Yeah, where's the first date? Do you know first date?
Pittsburgh on the 20th.
Okay, so listen, everybody. This drops Thursday. They're going to be in Pittsburgh. I need Pittsburgh to go represent. All right, everybody. Listen, on the Rio, Eugene, Pedro. I'm glad. I'm really
Much
psyched you
respect.
guys did it. I'm psyched. And there's more shit I got. We're going to continue this next time for sure.
Yeah, do part 2 soon, huh?
Definitely.
Listen, yeah, for sure. Listen, I'm going to get your addresses. I got some stuff for you. But everybody out there, shout out Gogol Bordello. Go support the movement. Get their record. They just dropping it. Catch them in Pittsburgh, everywhere else. Ecuador, Ukraine, in the motherfucking building. Smokin Word Podcast, and we out of here.
Smokin
Wepa.
Word, man.
Te veo,
Oh,
Eugene.
yeah,
We talk. I'm going to talk to you, all right? We
Thank
out
you.
of here,
Well,
fellas. Wepa.
So awesome.
That's awesome.
The
Cool.
dude is awesome, man.